your tires, you know what I mean? Otherwise. If you want to let me know, because I think that's the way to do it. I'll hang back, you do your walk, I'll bring Cam to you.
Anyways, this is the Ocean to Lake Trail. I've been sitting on this video for about 3 months now. I did it back in November, and it was such a good time. Kind of the way that I got here was because I've been really looking forward to doing like a long hike, but doing a long hike, doing long distance hiking, it's hard just logistically to get anything down. Over the years doing research and now living in Florida, I was like, well, this might be right up my alley. One of the guys on YouTube, his name is Jupiter Hikes, he really put this on my radar. And the Ocean to Lake Trail is part of the Florida Trail, and I still don't know the full story on that, because it doesn't, if you're looking at the Florida Trail from north to south, south to north, it's actually going the opposite way. It goes from east to west, but it's still maintained by the Florida Trail, and it has a great community, and a big, thanks to the Ocean to Lake Trail community that maintains the trail. I did it in November, and it was still good. You know what I mean? It was good to go. I didn't really run into any problems. It was well maintained. For the most part, there's always going to be areas that are hard to get to that are pretty challenging, and as you'll see throughout the video, we got into some pretty sticky situations, and I did this with my buddy Frank. It's a 4 to 6 day hike. We happened to do it in 5. So the 5-day hike, so we ended up going to the Ocean to Lake Trail, and I convinced my buddy to come with, because this is my very first long distance hike, anything over a couple days, and it was quite the challenge. The Ocean to Lake Trail, it's about 61 miles, and we started off in Lake Okeechobee and made our way to Hobe Sound. I've been calling it Hobie Sound the whole time, but somebody over in Hobe Sound told me better down at the gas station. But it's anyways, it was an incredible journey. I'm glad that I'm gonna be able to share a little bit of it. I wish I would have been more prepared with gear and batteries and so on. By the past the first couple days, we ran out of batteries, and my GoPro went down, and I try to preserve as much as I could. As you'll see, like towards the end, like I try to get like a shot of the end, because in my head I envisioned like this grand finale. I was gonna like be able to like jump in and at the beach, and it did not happen because it was like red flagged, so I wasn't able to jump in. I was able to take a really good shower down at the park, or the little beach hideaway they got there. But anyways, logistically, it's pretty much self-supported. There's no breaks in between, so if you're trying to do it, I would just bring everything, prepare for 4 to 6 days, and it's very well laid out. You're not gonna get lost, although we did get lost a couple times, but it's just mainly because you kind of zone out when you're going through the trail, not because anything it's in out of order. But some trees are hard to see more than others, but for the most part that shouldn't be. Like I ended up getting the Far Out app for the Florida Trail, and it worked out incredible. It has like a good, I never used it before. I would strongly suggest that you pick it up. I also picked up the book for the Florida Trail down at my local REI in Orlando. Very good explanation into what you're getting into, and a breakdown of everywhere that you could stay, and water resources and stuff like that. But for the most part, once you're in it, like you're done. Like you like civilization is out of the way. for a good while. So if you're trying to get lost for a little bit, like, I will highly suggest it. I liked it so much, and I might try to just do it again. But what I will say is this trail is underwater, like, for a good portion of the time. It's pretty. I mean, if you want wild, like, this is where it's at. It's I want to say out of the 61 miles, if I had to, you know, put a number on it, I would say 15 to 20 of those miles are underwater. And it's a little bit jarring at first when you get going, and you'll see that we tried everything. I think if I got good footage on this, we try to, like, switch out our shoes to Crocs, back to shoes, back to Crocs. And I could just tell you right now, like, that is not gonna work. As much as you want to think in your head that that's gonna work, it's not. And I was very naive with that. A lot of the water parts, you're gonna just have to,
only
you
cracks
know,
I saw
just deal
were
with
on my
it.
feet.
Eventually the water
Only
does
cracks I saw ones
reside,
on my feet.
and you get to camp, and you're able to at least dry off your feet, have a good night, and hopefully it's a little bit damp in the morning. And again, don't worry about it too much, because the thing is, like, as much as you could look up far out guides and stuff like that, like, you never know. Like, there was no rain at no point during this hike except for the last day, and everything was still swamped out, you know. There is a lot of wildlife. Didn't get to see too much of it. I almost stepped on a rattlesnake, so you gotta watch out for those. Saw a gator or two, and one gator, I don't know if I put it on the video, but I definitely had it on my camera phone, on my phone. He was literally in the trail, so if you're not paying attention, like, you could literally run into a gator, and he or she was pretty damn big. We ended up doing the dumbest thing and just kind of going around it without thinking too much about it. And then, like, later I was thinking about it. I was like, man, like, if that thing snapped and it went after us, like, we were done, because we have 30 pounds on our back, and we're not very fast when you have, you know, 30 pounds on your back. So maybe the better thing would have been to take off the backpack, put it in front of us, and then walk by the gator. But anyways, we survived. It was good. But again, there's a bunch of resources for this hike. Jupiter Hikes has a great breakdown of what you need and what you're getting into. Far Out Guides has a great detailed version of it, like a digital map. But again, I didn't really plan well for this as far as, like, charging up. There's nothing until about, you get to mile 45 that you get to see a little bit of life, and there's a gas station that you stop by and, you know, kind of resupply. Besides that, there's nothing. So you really gotta just bring everything when you can. I learned a lot during this hike. I brought way too much. Anyways, yeah, so we ended up just going for it, everything on our backs. I think Frank had a good 30 pounds. I had the same amount, about 30 pounds, and you definitely don't need that much. We brought way too much food, way too much gear, as far as, like,
One thing that you don't get from here
clothes
is
and
how fucking
pants and
cold it
change
is, you know?
and whatever. I would advise that you try to lighten your load, especially for those long distances where there's no brakes and there's nothing but water. You know, it'll pay dividends to pack light. But I guess that's something that you learn along the way. You know, I'm ready for my next one already. But as far as recommendations and how to do it, I would try to get a ride to Hope Sound, and then once you get there, call the public safety or the local police, and just tell them that you're going to be in the trail and that you're going to leave your car at the park. And what they'll ask you is for the license plate and kind of a description of your car, and it should be good for a few days. If you decide, and then what we did was we Ubered to Lake Okeechobee to get started. If you decide to start in Lake Okeechobee, like, I don't know what's out there, you know, like, as far as, like, people, I didn't see a lot of people, just a car here or there driving by, but, like, there's nothing like that. The parking lot there is, like, desolate. So if you care for your stuff, I wouldn't leave it there. I would actually I would definitely leave the car in Hope Sound rather than Lake Okeechobee. But that's just me. And the Uber ride is maybe like 35-40 minutes, which then makes it really depressing when you start the hike, because you signed up for a 60 miler that was done in 40 minutes. But I guess that's part of the journey. But anyways, one of the things I like to talk about real quick is the water resources. There is none. There's like a few, some of the campsites that have like a portable pump for portable water, but that's just like to clean stuff out. Like, don't drink that. We got by with we had a couple of Sawyer squeezes. I had a mini and a squeeze. The squeeze is way better because it has a bigger flow for the squeeze. Yeah, you're pretty much drinking swamp water the whole time, which that's either got to be really good or really bad for you. That particular section of the Florida Trail doesn't have, as far as I know, maybe a couple spots doesn't really have a agriculture runoff, which apparently is a big deal, because it has all the chemicals that are not good for you, and you need a special filter for that, which I don't have the info because I didn't deal with it. You don't need anything special for this one, but I would suggest that you bring like tablets, energy, and electrolytes, like little what do they call that, like Sunny Delights or whatever powder, to make the water a little bit more drinkable, if you will. But once you do it a couple times, you kind of just get used to it. It looks crazy. There's one of the shots in the video, the water is pretty much like straight up brown, but the water is good. That's what I want, at least that's what I tell myself, because it's a little bit crazy drinking this water that's just sitting around. But we didn't get sick during or after the hike, but we really took our time making sure that we first that once you scoop the water out, or you pre-filter it with a rag or a different container, and then put it through the squeeze, and then always make sure to flush out your squeeze for a better flow. But those are things that you're gonna figure it out real quick once the swamp water for the most part was good to go. Another thing that I would keep in mind is, besides the wildlife, insects, they weren't too crazy. Again, I did it in November, so it was a little bit chilly, not too cold, not too hot. It was perfect. I would recommend doing it around October or late October to probably early December. Ticks are still a thing. I got lucky, didn't get bit, but my buddy did, and luckily he caught it in time. Always at night, do a shakedown, look yourself over. He found it, and it wasn't there earlier, so obviously it wasn't there too long. He had a kit to take it out, and was able to put some, take it out, save it, put some, honestly, I think he ended up burning that part. I don't know if that's even like a thing, but he's still with us today. So anyhow, it's a great hike, especially if you've been thinking about doing a long distance hike. This might be the one for you, because it's very,
what a place.
It's for the most, it's short. It's doable. You could take a week off work and fly into Florida, get it done, and you got the whole weekend still. It's very diverse. It's all flat. Spoilers, it's Florida, but it is still very cool hike. You get to see a lot of different plants, fauna. Hopefully I'm saying that right. But yeah, you get to just points, especially like towards, if you're going from west to east, like you get to some points that even if you live in Florida, you probably haven't seen in a long time, kind of wildlife and plants, and it's just beautiful just to get to see things like that. It was a great time. I would definitely recommend it. The Ocean to Lake Trail, it's unique to Florida. There's a lot of people that look at the Ocean to Lake Trail like a starter trail, just because it's easy to get to, and it's manageable, and it's not very long. Just because it's Florida and you think it's all flat and it's all gravy,
Pop a seat.
it is a very challenging, especially because of the water. and also, you know, the logistics of getting in and out, I would say this is like close to like intermediate hiking to that kind of like difficult layer of hiking, even though it doesn't have, you know, up and downs, but it is very challenging terrain, and you're kind of always, you know, you have that bug in your shoulder kind of just telling you like, hey, am I safe here? Because there's some parts of it that it really, especially if when you're going through those canopy parts, like you don't know what's lurking around the corner, you don't know what's on the water, and you know, there is a lot of gators in Florida, and I think like at some point it automatically just kind of just, you know, by default that danger zone stuff kind of shuts off, because otherwise you're not going to get anywhere. And by some, you know, by I would say by like mile, you know, 40 or 50, I'm just like, you know, if there's a gator here, like fuck it, like take me, like I'm good, because you're just crushing the miles, you know. So just to talk a little bit about the way that we did it. Again, we did it in 5 days. Day one, it was a long one just because we're driving down. I live in Central Florida, so we had to drive down. That's a good 3 hours. Then getting the ride out there, that's like another close to an hour, you know, between getting the Uber and getting out there, getting your bearings straight, all this stuff. And then you have the first day we made it to the camp, the number one, you know, I guess it's loop number 4. And then after that, we ended up doing between 15 to 17 miles every day. Unfortunately, Frank had to go home on the last one, on that break that you see the gas station. So we're trying to go back out there and just finish it out to make sure that he's done with it. Yeah, it's there's designated campsites, and some of them, I'll just go ahead and talk a little bit about the different areas that you'll see. But right off the lake, you're gonna get into John G and Susan H. Jr. Wildlife. Right off the lake, you're gonna get into John
This
G
right here
and Susan
I-95.
Jr. After that is J.W. Corbett Wildlife Management Area, which this part, dumb mistake on my part, and I'll never do it again, but I did have my Hunter Orange on the first couple days, and then I kind of just forgot to put it on, and when we saw the hunters, we put it back on, and they let us have it, which I'm completely okay with that. That was, you know, our fault. We made ourselves known, and then we put on our orange. Maybe we got lucky and we got a pass on life there, because there's nobody supposed to be out there, you know. It's just like the Florida trails out there. I'm assuming they know that, but that's what we kind of got a little bit scared. We put our hands up, hey, we're here, and then we put our stuff on, and then we got yelled at. And I think those guys were definitely on point to let us have it. Something I won't do again. And then you're gonna go through, I think the last part, if I remember correctly, is the Jonathan Dickinson State Park, and that piece is fairly quick, but it's still very challenging. The terrain changes a little bit, but it's beautiful. Some people that I've seen online that done it before, like they done it the other way around, and I honestly, my recommendation, if you're gonna do this one, just try. I would do Lake Okeechobee to the coast. I think the harder, more challenging part of this hike is definitely coming from the lake. So you could either have it the easy route at the beginning and then to ramp it up, or just get out the suck out of the way, and then it gets progressively easier as you go. But that's completely up to you. But definitely this hike, I'll definitely do it again, just because it's so easy to get to and get stuff done. You know, like you're not, you know, flying in for days or busting in and stuff like that. It's just like, if you live in Florida, you kind of owe it to yourself to do this one, because again, it's part of the Florida Trail, so you're getting a little bit of that and some of the history there, but then it's easy in and out. You could get dropped off and picked up, and other than that, yeah, it's hopefully, you know, the reason I'm doing this is just because, again, I had the equipment. I was like, let me just get some shots, see how it turns out. I ended up liking some of it, and it's one of those things where I look back at it, but now it's like, yeah, you put the tripod, then you walk a little bit, then you come pick it up, and it's funny later when you're looking at it in post. But hopefully it motivates somebody to to get out there. If you're on the fence about it, just do it. You know, just take a few days off if you can and just get it done. Yeah, this is one that you're gonna want to see through, because again, like once you get in, there's no way out. I mean, there is a way out, but it's not pretty. You're gonna have to go through some suck to get to civilization, to be able to get an Uber or have somebody come pick you up. Again, like more than likely, I'll probably break down some of the gear that I took and some of the stuff that I wouldn't take. But other than that, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoy some of the footage, and feel free to hit me up in the comments or just if you have any questions. Thank you.